York taught me to believe in fate. Had you asked me about fate back when I was human, I would have told you it was just superstitious bullshit. There we are, all designers of our own destinies. That belief shattered the richest woman in the United States. The actual richest woman, not a face you could have seen in the papers, of course, sank her teeth deep into her neck. It happened in that very same place you're standing right now. By the way, fate, you decide. Please, there's absolutely no need to be hostile. Just listen a little longer. See, my mistake was I flew too close to the sun. It makes sense that my punishment was to never see it glow again. I was incandescent. I was incandescent myself. I was hot shit. I had it all. Money, looks, confidence, connections, men, women, a career, and a spark in my eye. The one you need to be born with. And that's when someone far more powerful than me saw my true radiance. But that won't do. She robbed me of the light erupting from within and gave me a subtle, endearing gleam in its place. She decided that would fit me much better. She was a 9th generation kindred just like you, an apex predator. She probably enjoyed teaching me the peak of human excellence, a real place in the human food chain. It's such an eyesore when you look at some loudmouth braggart and see them for all they really are. The temptation to teach them a lesson can be unbearable, right? Well, my sire's lesson was a lesson about fate, a message saying you're eternally doomed to be at the mercy of your sovereigns. It almost drove me to destroy myself. What saved me was my ability to reinterpret her teachings. Hers wasn't a message of doom, it was a message of hope. Fate exists, and one can shape it if given the right tools. My sire didn't believe my tools were fitting for the job. She considered them toys and me just her amusing subject. Well, she's deader than dead now, and I'm still here, standing right where she stood when we first met. You might have wondered how I've learned about your arrival to JFK Airport. My answer is, of course, destiny. As luck would have it, the day happened to be a day some of my associates were inspecting the coffins. Driving you straight here from the plane and having you wake up in such an unfamiliar place was a little desperate, and I do apologize for it. But it is so rare for you to visit New York. 3 times in the last 15 years, was it? And you're never eager to inform me you're here. I understand you have the meeting on 53rd Street later tonight, so I'll provide a comfortable transport. I value our relationship very much. Don't get me wrong. But it is precisely because I value it that I'm going to ask you to repay the favor you owe me. You're the only one I'd trust to do the job well, and without attracting attention. You might think I'm crazy, asking you to breach the rules of our society like this. You might think it's impossible to get away with it unpunished. But this is New York, and I don't know about other cities, but in this one, fate really does exist. And right now, it's smiling in your favor. This is how it begins. The music is pounding, and your pulse is keeping pace. This is one of those nights that make you feel alive, even though it started with you feeling dead. First came the messy breakup, then the realization you have nobody to talk to about it, how much it sucked. Still, you decided to roll with the punches. One Facebook search for local events later, and you found just the thing for your malaise. A short subway ride, and you find yourself at the club just outside Dumbo. Not a fancy one, mind you, more like a slightly refurbished warehouse, but hey, at least the drinks are cheap. The DJ seems to really know his shit too, alternating between cutting-edge industrial techno and classic Detroit crowd pleasers, expertly feeling out everyone's mood. An hour passes. Then two. Usually you'd feel awkward coming to a place like this alone, but tonight, you feel something soothing in joining the crowd, blending in, even as you allow the beat to take over. Sweat, yours, other people's, soaks through your shirt and pants in a matter of minutes. A thought pops into your head. From the outside, the fully packed club must seem like a stuffy, smelly nightmare. But here, in the thick of it, becomes exhilarating. And you're not even on a pill tonight. There's this Latina chick whose curves are accentuated by the light dress clinging to her body, and she keeps bumping into you. Something tells you it only seems incidental. Yeah, it's a good night. You wish it could last forever, because you know all too well what the next day holds. Waking up, getting dressed for work, the commute, the 9-to-5 grind that will make you just enough money to pay for rent, keep living in your overpriced shithole of an apartment. And with Jessica moving out, it'll all be coming out of your pocket. You run some quick calculations in your head and immediately come to regret that you did. Never mind. You spot the Latina again. She is now next to another guy, hitting it off. Your chance of not going to bed alone, gone. Just like that. Fuck. Your mood temporarily shot down. You leave the dance floor and stumble your way to the filthy bathroom. You take a look in the mirror and start to wash your face. Obsessively. Over and over again. A voice from the past echoes in your mind. I've never felt like this with anyone. Seriously, I mean it. I feel like all my relationships up to this point were test runs. A shitty way to compensate for my low self-esteem. But this feels right. Finally. Shut up, Jess. This was the craziest fucking day of my life. God, I need to smoke. Pass me a light. What do you mean cops took the lighter? There's one in your mouth. Shut the hell up. This is not you. Not anymore. Oh, fuck off. This is so like you. Acting like some sort of Clint Eastwood wannabe when I really, really need you to open up. You think you're impressing people with this tough guy act? Fuck you. I know how broken you really are. You need therapy. Yeah, now that sounds like the Jessica of today. You raise your head and look into the mirror. You try to smile, but all you can muster is a self-pitying grin. And there she is again. Latina from before. She says you look like you need a drink. You hesitate for a second or two, and the blurt out a surprising enthusiastic, yeah. You start to talk. It quickly becomes evident that she's into politics and you're eager to please. You might be a corporate drone, but you spend a lot of evenings reading theory, actual theory, not bastardized Twitter cliff notes, and organizing for all manners of causes online. The status quo sucks. There must be something better. She agrees. You seem to subscribe to the same progressive political theories, have compatible ideas about the DSA's missteps, even watch the same YouTube channels. Your goals are aligned. She's a bit more radical than you'd have guessed. You attended a few rallies, been to a few protests, but this girl sounds like she's broke her share of faces and kicked more than a couple of cops in the nuts over the course of her activist career. Her zeal is infectious. She taps into pent-up anger that you didn't know you had. The noisy club stops working for you both, so you hit the streets. Just as you're leaving, the DJ starts playing All the Things She Said by Tate. Oh, I am Uncultured Swine. Tattoo, of course. You chuckle to yourself, try not to slip into a bad headspace. She chuckles along with you. It's chilly outside, but soon enough, you find yourself too invested in listening to the girl's voice to care about anything else. It's loud. Let me adjust the volume on that. Realizing. Is that a little bit? You realize you've been holding hands for a while. The subway car is empty, save for a stoic middle-aged couple and a drunk staring intently at his own feet. Plenty of room to stretch out, and yet she sits right next to you. You can feel her thigh pressing into yours, her breath on the side of your neck. Maybe it's the booze talking, but you distinctly hear your voice asking if she'd like to crash at your place. I've got a better idea, she says. At this point, you're down for anything as long as it lets you spend just a few more minutes with her. She takes you to a sleazy motel in the Bronx, trading a few words with the balding, tired-looking guy in the front desk. He hands her a key. Still holding your hand, the woman leads you up the stairs. The room you end up in is almost comically stereotypical, complete with flaking paint and a sticky floor. Not that it matters, though. The moment you step through the door, she's on you. You try to take the lead, but she's having none of it. Before you know it, you feel the rickety bed pressing against your back. It's sloppy. Fun. Fierce. And not once does she lose the initiative. Your hands reach under her t-shirt. Strange. It didn't look like she was cold outside, but now her skin feels eerily cool. As if sensing your confusion, she slaps your hands off of her. She kisses your neck. You are overwhelmed by the sensation. Darkness. The taste of liquid fire and smoke on your tongue. Her voice saying, "Sorry, kid. I did what I had to do to leave the city in one piece. But don't worry. With my blood and your principles, you're going to do just fine." She slams the motel room door behind her as she leaves. You lie helpless on the soiled, pungent mattress for some time. Minutes? Hours? Before you can focus enough to try and piece together your evening, it hits you. The big hunger. It grips you by the throat and makes your inside shrivel in terror. It's an all-encompassing emptiness that throws you on all fours. You crawl for a while, squirm on the floor in sundering pain, then jump to your feet and bust out the door. You black out. This isn't the room you saw when you last closed your eyes. Somebody curses at you. A small, naked, buff dude holding a short leather whip. Wow. What a goofy motherfucker. He throws a punch. He yells out several slurs. He hits you in the jaw. You black out again. Guy isn't moving anymore. There's blood on his neck. There's blood on his arms. There's blood on the floor. There's blood everywhere. Wow, whoever did this is one sick puppy. You realize you're sitting on top of his corpse. You hear a whimper. Someone else is there. A woman. Her arms are tied to the bed frame, an eye mask over her face, red marks on her back. This time you see it happen. You want to stop, but can't. She almost manages to get a scream out, but it dies in her throat as you bite into the side of her neck. You drink blood. You're drinking blood. You could swear you feel her life force escaping her body, entering yours. Suddenly terrified, you tear away from her. She's not moving, but she's breathing. There's barely a mark on her neck. The guy on the floor, though. You double over in a spasm, realizing what you did. You feel like throwing up, but can only gag. Panic sets in and another realization dawns on you. Your heart is not beating. You put 2 fingers to your wrist, but feel no pulse. Same thing on the neck. Nothing. There is no breath coming out of your mouth. You have to get out. Get someone to call an ambulance. For yourself, at least. Probably too late for the dude on the floor. Did you really kill him? Tisk. What a mess. You look up. The door to the room is ajar. A tall, handsome, broad-shouldered man fills the entire frame. He brushes an imaginary speck of dirt off his perfectly tailored suit. Hey man, this isn't what it looks like. That's good to hear, because from where I'm standing, looks like you're in world trouble. He surveys the room, not moving an inch from where he's standing. He shakes his head in mock concern. Murder, assault, that's 25 to life, if you're lucky. But since you're not, it's a death sentence. He takes a glance at his expensive-looking watch. Lucky for you, it's been a slow night. Otherwise, I might not have gotten here in time. Come on. The sun comes up in a few hours. You don't want to be around when it does. The sun? What does it matter when the sun comes up? So you don't even know. You should be glad I got here before you made yourself scarce. The man approaches you and starts talking. His tone remains unnaturally calm. Oddly enough, you find it both soothing and slightly unnerving. Now, listen to me. I know this is all new to you, but I've dealt with hundreds of strays like you. And going by experience, they tend to fall into 2 categories. First, there are the smart ones who carefully obey my every word and don't try to pull off anything stupid. Always get them where they need to be, safe and sound. And then there are the dumb ones. Punks who thought they could take me on. The wise guys who tried to contact somebody, secretly and without permission. The troublemakers who tried to run off or make a scene. None of them got to their destination in one piece. In fact, most of them never reached their destination at all. His voice becomes slightly bored and monotone. You can tell he's given this speech before. likely dozens of times. So, you see, while I generally consider myself pretty smart, I'm also a Mets fan. I'm one of what's one of my true weakness. My one true weakness. One that inspired me to come up with the 3-strike system when dealing with pups like you. If you get on my nerves once or twice, well, I understand not all of us perform well in stressful situations. But cross me 3 times, and you're out. No excuses, no forgiveness, no mercy. And as he's talking, he slowly approaches you, adding a bit of theatrical swagger to his walk. Eventually, he leans in, deliberately invading your personal space. You realize it's a test. He's daring you to do something about it. 3 strikes, and you're out. Say, I understand, sir. Now, you've never been too eager to bend the knee to anyone, but this is something else. The man's very presence instills a primal fear in your heart. I understand, sir. Glad we have an understanding. Moving on. Is there anyone you'd want to inform of your current situation? Tell them you're all right? He flashes his fangs briefly, and for some reason, the sight sends a chill down your spine. There is something very wrong about him. Someone closest to you. Oh. Jessica, my ex-girlfriend. She kinda hates my guts, but yeah, I suppose it would be her. The stranger gives you a puzzled look and decides to prod further. The closest person in your life hates your guts. This time, something resembling a look of pity. He turns his eyes to the corpse on the floor. When it rains, it pours, I suppose. Well, you'd like to ruin her day and let her know you're all right. Give me her phone number. I'll have someone take care of it. Discreetly, of course. You hand him your smartphone so he can copy the number from your list of contacts. Thank you. This will be useful in illustrating my next point. Instead of giving back your phone, the man hides it in his pocket. From this point on, you are subject to different laws than the ones you grew up under. You'll be watched by many eyes to ensure these laws are respected. You are forbidden from letting anyone know you're still alive. You are forbidden from showing your face anywhere they know you. If anyone comes looking for you, it's over for both you and them. He interrupts his monotone recitation and stares deep into your eyes. So unless you want your girlfriend to end up at the bottom of the Hudson, I suggest you cooperate. I appreciate it, thank you. He proudly displays his fangs again. You foot Jess. Danger. God damn it. I can only hope that you care for her enough not to do anything selfish. His words are meant to imply otherwise, but by now, it's obvious. He hates your guts as much as you hate his. He's itching for a fight, and you're almost willing to oblige. Alright, I think that's enough lecturing for today. We're on a bit of a schedule here. Now, I don't need to hurt you, but I can do so in the blink of an eye. Just so that we're clear, I have the authority to end you right here, right now. This is not an idle threat. So you're going to play along? Or are we going to have to do it the hard way? Not the hard way. You weigh your chances, but it doesn't look promising. The guy's fit, determined, and looks like he means business. You, on the other hand, are confused, exhausted, and on the verge of a panic attack. Yeah, fine. I'll go with you. He almost looks disappointed. A wise decision. Follow me and close the door behind you. You take one final look at the woman who just coming to, and the body on the ground. This is fucked. Absolutely fucked. Pull the handle and close the door. The man leads you downstairs. You contemplate signaling the bald guy at the front desk, but he's too busy watching some 90s action flick on a small, ancient-looking TV. He seems totally oblivious to your presence. Thank you for subscribing. Oh, I appreciate. Wow. Oh my. You hear a dejected Jean-Claude Van Damme say, "I just want to go home," as you're walking by. Your would-be kidnapper stops by the door and addresses you before opening it. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, as soon as he opens the door, I'm making a run for it. Maybe I can outrun him. I'll save you the trouble. You can't. You can either get inside my car, and I'll get you where you need to be, or you can try something stupid that you'll regret later. Do I make myself clear? Why don't you just turn me in? Because no one would benefit from that. And besides, I have my orders. He opens the door and gestures to a black Cadillac Escalade parked right outside the building. After you. He is a little cutie. I like his piercings. Follow the string. Also, his drip is quite nice. All the protagonists in this game are actually very, very, very attractive. Most characters in this game are very attractive. Following the stranger's instructions, you make your way to the car and get in the back seat. The door locks behind you. Inside the Cadillac is almost entirely dark. The side windows seem light-proof. The man gets in the driver's seat, starts the engine, and drives away without another word. Yes, absolutely all vampires should be hot. Who are you? Who the hell are you, anyway? I'm the ferryman, here to take you to the other side. He weighs his next words carefully. You will have to forgive me. I'm not in the mood to wax poetic about the state you're in or my role in tonight's events. Just remember, you want to survive the next 24 hours. You'll have to play along. Man, this is bullshit. Why did everything have to be a fucking riddle? Well, Riddle me this. Who's gonna get their teeth smashed into their brain if it doesn't shut up? Understand that this is for your own good. Times being what they are, you should consider yourself lucky. You drive in silence for about 20 more minutes as exhaustion catches you up with you. The streetlights fade into a blur. Eventually, the car stops and the doors open. You emerge from your dreamlike state and find yourself in some kind of underground parking garage. You two are the only ones here. The man points to a nearby door. Go on in. Make yourself comfortable. If you get hungry, again, take a look in the fridge. I'll pick you up tomorrow, and you'll get your answers. Behind the door is a small room. No windows, just a simple bed, and a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. A small fridge is humming away in the corner, accompanied by a rattling AC fan in the wall. I guess I got no choice but to trust you. It is very different. I like it. Took you this long to figure out. Remember what I said you were lucky? I meant it. See, my job is to get rid of problems, but I'm not always this polite about it. This time, I was specifically told to mind my manners. So believe me when I tell you, considering how this night could have turned out, being stuck in here for a night is a really good deal. Now get in, or I'll throw you in. Okay. You step inside. The stranger nods. Good night. He closes the door behind you. It looks sturdy, but as he's locking it, you notice claw marks all over. Looks like some previous guests weren't satisfied with their stay. You decide not to dwell on it, and check the fridge. There's a single plastic bag there filled with red liquid. No label. Tomato soup? Feels sick to your stomach. Best to leave it for now. You lie down on the bed. It's a simple mattress on a metal frame. You can't help but think it looks exactly like the one back at the hotel. The bound woman. Oh, right. You killed a man tonight. Or did you? Maybe none of this is real. Maybe it's all an elaborate prank. The girl at the club just might have put her up to it. The tall guy's clearly in on it too. Now he's back with them, and they're all laughing their asses off. You don't know what to think anymore. Your mind races, but you're too tired to keep it going. Finally, you tense up one last time before drifting away into oblivion. You wake up. That in itself is a surprise. You barely remember when you drifted off. It didn't feel quite like sleep, more like plummeting into an endless void. You imagine that's how death feels like. The room is unchanged. The lamp is still on, the AC is still rattling, the refrigerator is still humming. You take a look at your watch. It's almost 9 p.m. You've slept for 17 hours straight. Maybe you died. Your breath is gone. You feel no thumping in your chest. Does that qualify as dead if you're still conscious? You're not sure about that, but you are certain about one thing. You are hungry. It's not your stomach rumbling, though. It's a need. It starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, and back of the head. You open the fridge. The bag is still there. Take a closer look at it. If it is soup, then its color and texture are off. You pull the cork out. Take a whiff. You recognize the smell immediately. Holy shit. There's no mistaking it. This bag blood. The smell is faint, and you remember some situations in the past where you found it nauseating, but now it's almost... No, not almost. It is enticing. Oh, we drink. It feels wrong, but right now it's barely anything in your life that doesn't. To hell with it. You pour a bit of the liquid into your mouth. It tastes bland. Reminds you of cheap supermarket juice. Just enough flavor to register as what it claims to be on the box, but nothing like the real thing. Nothing like what you had last time. You swallow it. Somehow you don't feel sick. In a weird way, weird messed up way, can't help but feel, help think it feels nourishing. You take a few more sips, and then just another one. Suck on the bag a little more. Eventually, you find that you've emptied it entirely. You look at the info pressed on the side of the bag. 450 milliliters of it. Even with its blandness, you still feel like having more. You realize your body longs for the intoxicating high you felt when an image of the corpse crosses your mind, causing you to wince. What have you become? You try to piece through your thoughts, make sense of it all, and you hear the lock click, see the door open. Standing there is the well-dressed stranger you met yesterday. Immaculate suit again, that predatory look, like a hawk on a hunt, but somehow more relaxed tonight. So, like a tamed hawk, maybe. Good evening. Slept well. You notice the discarded empty bag. I see you had a bit of a snack. Yeah, I did. You got any more? No. And don't expect sustenance to be this easy to find next time. Come on. We've got places to be. The car is humming in the empty parking lot just outside the door of the cramped room you had spent the day in. The man motions to it, politely, but with a stern look on his face. Oh my God, the options. I'm trusting you here, man. I'm touched. Sincerely. You take the back seat again. The doors lock. The stranger takes the wheel and starts the car. You drive in silence for a while. From time to time, you keep trying to catch glimpses of familiar streets or landmarks through the blackened windows. But it's of little use. The car is also soundproofed, so all you can hear is a bit of traffic humming at the car's engine. The driver doesn't say anything and seems focused on the road. You check the door handle. Yeah, the door is locked all right. The piece of dark glass separating you and the front of the car looks sturdy too. There's nothing left to do but wait. You didn't have time to think about it before, but you realize now that you're hungry. No. Not a rumbling stomach that grabs your attention. It's a need that starts somewhere in your abdomen and spreads to your chest, throat, back of the head. You try to extract some information out of the man behind the wheel, but you realize you'd prefer to bask in the afterglow of your last meal. You wouldn't have expected it, but you spent the rest of the trip lost in your thoughts. A lot of them concern blood. It takes you another 20 or so minutes to get to your destination. As the door opens, you try to get your bearings. You're still in New York. That much is certain. Queens, maybe. After me. No sudden movements, please. You approach a nice-looking building that houses a 2-story gallery called the Art Hall. 2 large men in suits flank the door on both sides, and they give you your companion a nod as you approach. Prompted by the stranger guiding you, you walk inside. The gallery is full of, which is is full, which is unusual at this hour, to say the least. About 24 faces fill the showroom, and a number of waiters navigate the gathering, serving drinks. All of them are beneath the guests' attention. The visitors are well dressed for the most part, but it's unclear what they have gathered here for. Nobody seems to be particularly interested in the art pieces on the walls, and the atmosphere is polite. Unnaturally so. Many guests turn to look at you and the stranger who brought you here. Their glances are varied. You see open contempt on a few faces and animated interest on others. Most of the eyes in the room calmly observe you as if wishing to appraise your worth. The last time you felt like this was at your previous job interview. It was like being a piece of livestock, inspected from all sides for any imperfection, so your wage could be haggled down. It was dehumanizing, made you feel dirty. When they called you the next day to offer you the job, you declined. Even when you're a nobody, you become even less if you trade away your dignity for a paycheck. The memory makes you feel warmer inside even now, although the state of your bank account never did. Good evening, Kadir. And to you, child. The noble, cold voice takes you out of your head and back to the situation at hand. The gallery, the crowd of strangers, you being brought here against your will. What purpose? The room awaits your response. Good evening, miss. Good evening, miss. You're addressing the Prince of New York City, Helen Panhard, child of Michaela. Thank you, my sheriff, but I am capable of introducing myself. She is somewhat plain-looking and doesn't seem to possess a great deal of charm, but still, the entire room is intently focused on her voice. She has influence over these people. That much is clear. You may address me as Prince, child. I realize your introduction into unlife was abrupt, and I understand your sire left shortly after. The rules of our society dictate I punish you both for this transgression. A murmur of agreement, maybe, can be heard from the gathered audience. But I am willing to listen to what our loyal sheriff has to say about the circumstances of your embrace first. You decide it is best to stay silent and listen to the whole situation unfold. It feels like you're out of your depth here. Shall we begin? You are about to be judged by the court of New York City. Kadir, please let us know you found this fledgling, how you found this fledgling, and what happened on your way here. Court? Prince, is this some kind of secret society make-believe? A trusted informant who has chosen to remain anonymous at this time tipped me off about a suspicious kindred appearing in one of our domains. Upon investigating, I found them gone, but this fledgling remained in their place. The hunger made him savage, a prostitute, and his client in a Bronx brothel belonging to one of the ministry. I have already spoken to Sanskarik. Sanskarik about this and made sure it'll blow over. Regarding the fledgling himself, surprisingly enough, he offered little resistance last night and cooperated on our way to the safe house. I was pleased to not have to force his compliance. We had a quick chat, but wishing to appear here post-haste, I urged him to join me, which he did without struggle. Again, a pleasant departure from my usual routine. His thirst partially slaked with the bagged blood we kept in the safe house. We had plenty enough drive here. story ends with us arriving at Elysium tonight. All eyes are on you again. You take a special interest in one of the faces. Oh, it's a beautiful woman with curly, almost blood-red hair and a dress to match. You see her whispering to some bespectacled man with an absent-minded look on his face. Who is she, you wonder? Thank you, Kadir. I take note of this fledgling's behavior and will take it into consideration later. She turns her attention to you. First, there's the matter of your sire, the person who brought you here where Kadir picked you up from last night. Who were they? Let me ask you this first. Why do you keep using that word? Sire, what does it mean? Under regular circumstances, it would be your patron, the one responsible for your introduction into our society. Things being what they are, however, I would very much like to know who they are. Indulge me. You find it impossible to decline her final request. Something in her voice makes you want to please her. You hear yourself speak. A Latina woman, very radical unless she convincingly lied to me. She was special, extraordinary. She had fire, conviction, temper. She seduced me easily, in fact. Made me think she wanted me. I fell for it and now I'm here. You stop yourself from saying more, then realize there's really not much more to be said about it. A nagging thought enters your mind. How did this prince persuade you with such ease? Well, Kadir, does that sound familiar? No, it does not. Or at least not familiar enough. I will continue the search after we're done here. That chick, she rented our room at the motel. Talked to the receptionist. He might know something about her. Unlikely, but regardless, thank you for that observation. I will investigate this later. What shall I do with the fledgling, my prince? What is your recommendation, Sheriff? The traditions are clear. Thou shalt only sire another with the permission of thine elder. If thou createst another without thine elder's leave, both thou and thy progeny shall be slain. I am ready to fulfill my duty. Stay your hand for just a moment longer, Kadir. I wish to consult my counsel on this. Make sure everyone is in agreement. Of course. He seems strangely relieved. The prince leaves the main showroom, and a handful of people follow her out. You're about to ask this Kadir what all this talk of traditions and councils was when the red-haired woman approaches the two of you. Sophie. Sheriff, I was wondering if I could have a word with the fledgling. What for? She lowers her voice in response. Come now, Kadir. We all know what the verdict is gonna be. Let me speak to them. You might not have to stain your hands tonight after all. Her words grab his attention. His face is hard to read. It's like several emotions are struggling for domination. Anger, sadness, hope, gratitude, resolve. I'll go get my sword. He steps out of the room the way you came, and you are left in the showroom with the woman in the red dress. She takes you aside, and the eyes of the remaining guests follow you. Well then, fledgling, you are in quite the pickle. What the hell is this party for rich sickos? Looks like something straight out of a conspiracy theory. Everyone here knows a thing or two about conspiracies, but we don't have time to discuss those right now. I'll stick to explaining what concerns you most directly. Last night, you became a vampire. Wait. What? Oh yes, I am well aware how ridiculous that sounds. It's the reason why we have these nicer words for it. Kindred, being embraced, having a sire. The fact remains. The beings called vampires, you're looking at them. They're us. You glance around. Some of the guests are still occasionally looking at you, commenting on you in hushed tones. Many of the patrons are pale. Really pale. Most hold glasses of wine. No. Not wine. That's not the right thickness. Not the right color either. You're trying to come up with something sensible to say, but you're drawing it blank. Makes a morbid kind of sense. You drank blood last night. There's no denying it. And your breathing has not returned. Your heart remains still. A vampire. Two voices in your head start battling for supremacy. One of them slowly begins to put everything that happened since yesterday together, coming to a conclusion that no matter how insane it might seem, nothing but what she's saying makes sense. The other voice just keeps saying, "What the fuck? What the fuck?" on repeat. You're surprised. This is often how it plays out by design. Kadir deliberately keeping you in the dark and all. We do nothing. You will be cut down, sure as day follows night. But I'm here to offer you a chance, a way out, under one condition. I will take you under my wing. If you're lucky, the prince will be in a good mood tonight, and your deference to Kadir will work in your favor. She might agree to this, but only if you swear fealty to me. I'm not making this offer lightly. As your patron, I will take responsibility for you. Your actions will reflect on me. If they reflect negatively, well, I will make sure you face the consequences. Suppose I say yes. What happens then? You survive. Hopefully. Or not, depending on the prince's whim. I'm giving you a chance, not a guarantee. But if you take me as your patron, I will be your guide in this new reality. And you will assist me, like a child would a sire. Steps and hushed voices can be heard from the side room. It seems the prince and her council are returning to the showroom. Kadir appears from downstairs as well and starts walking towards you. When you hear the verdict, ask to be spared. I will intervene. Remember my condition. She flashes a heart-melting smile towards Kadir, who does not smile back. The sheriff's immaculate suit is now complemented by a curved, oriental-looking metal scabbard, fastened with a colorful sash around his waist. It would look vaguely ridiculous if it wasn't surprisingly intimidating first and foremost. Kadir takes his place next to you and observes as the prince takes center stage again. Loyal kindred of the New York City Camarilla. Gathered here tonight, I have made my decision regarding this fledgling. She briefly addresses you. I would have you know, this was not an easy decision to make. For your part, you have not done anything to earn our ire. I do feel a genuine sorrow for what must be done. We are all keenly aware that these nights we need to close our ranks and trust the wisdom of our elders and their traditions more than ever before. There is no place for tolerating dissent with our very existence when our very existence is under constant threat. Although I acknowledge some of my counsel's divergent opinions on this. She takes a look specifically at one of the people who left the room before, a rather plainly dressed, shy-looking man whose skin has a somewhat healthier tone. He bows his head in deference. I'll hold the final authority over this fledgling's fate. I declare that while their embrace might be the sire's responsibility, in their absence, it is their progeny that must be punished. The sentence is a final death, be resolved presently. Kadir, you hear a scraping sound and see that the sheriff has unsheathed his curved sword. It is a beautifully detailed blade, which you expect must be worth a small fortune. Its apparent sharpness makes you freeze up. 2 outs. Bottom of the 9th. His quiet mumble is audible to nobody but you. As his eyes meet yours, you note just a hint of sadness in his countenance. One that quickly vanishes to give way to grim determination. He's out to bat. You will not get another chance to speak up. You make your choice. I'm not going down like this, damn it. Spare me. Prince, if I may ask you to stay the sheriff's hand for a while longer? Kadir looks at the prince, awaiting her response. The sword is still hanging above you, threatening to fall at a moment's notice. Is there something you'd like to say, Miss Langley? Yes, if I may. At first, the prince looks somewhat annoyed at the distraction, but she stays quiet for a while, measuring the mood in the room. The bored elites suddenly look at you with aroused interest, some of them dismayed at not seeing the bloodshed, but all intrigued by the unexpected twist. The prince nods. Well, let's hear it. Sophie takes a few steps forward, all eyes on her now, but Kadir's heavy hand on your shoulder makes it clear you won't take advantage of the distraction. My prince, while the traditions are clear, I believe that the proper context should be observed in addition to the letter of our laws. This fledgling is a burden, but with proper guidance, it could become an asset to our domain. Might understand that you are volunteering to take this sireless child under your protection? Yes, I happen to think they might hold a potential that would be unfortunate to waste. I do not expect their full cooperation, of course. Whispers can be heard again, an incredulous voice or two, a hushed, just behead the fucker. Some suppressed exclamations of surprise. Silence. I ask all of you to make note of this moment. I might be persuaded to bend our one tradition in this child's favor, but another will have to be enforced even more firmly in its stead. Till thy progeny shall be released, thou shalt command them in all things. Their sins are thine to endure. Are you certain that's a responsibility we wish to shoulder, Miss Langley? I am willing to guide this fledgling and add a valuable ally to our sect in a time of need. Yes, but I would like to receive the right of destruction over them, if it pleases you. I'm worth keeping alive, Prince. Give me a chance to prove myself. That remains to be seen. I do take note of your tenacity. See that it doesn't become a burden. I shall grant you what you ask. Let it be known. Sophie Langley of the Clan of the Rose will become this fledgling's patron. They shall be considered like sire and child. Miss Langley will take full responsibility for them, and I grant her the right of destruction. She sees fit to use it. Let my intentions be clear, however. If I am to turn a blind eye to one of our most important traditions on this occasion, I expect it to be beneficial to the Camarilla. Substantially so. I hope you find this verdict satisfactory, Miss Langley. Of course, Prince. Thank you. Very well. She turns to you. What is your name, child? Merrick, Prince. She nods. Welcome to the Camarilla, Merrick. Now, this evening proved to be even more eventful than I anticipated. But with the fledgling's fate decided, I believe our meeting here can be concluded. Thank you for all appearing on such a short notice. Give my regards to those who couldn't make it. Kadir, a moment of your time before I let you return to your duties? Of course, Prince. He shoots you a side glance that doesn't leave much space for interpretation. You will be watched. You will be judged. And if needed be, you will be punished. The two of them leave the gallery. Well, Merrick, I think we've both already managed to significantly improve each other's evenings. But let's keep the ball rolling, shall we? I think we should have a toast to a new, fruitful partnership. She raises her hand at one of the well-dressed concierges who has now reappeared in the showroom to refill the guest glasses. The conventionally handsome man approaches with a carafe of red liquid. He pours it into two tall glasses. It's blood again. That much is clear. You're in two minds about drinking it, but the memory of last night's hunger makes you wince. You take a tentative sip. You expect the same blandness you tasted a few hours ago, but this one you can actually savor. It's smoky and warm, making you think of a cozy cabin in the woods. It does strike you as a strange image for your mind to jump to when drinking human blood, but it is what it is. You never tasted anything like it. Do you like it? I think New York City caterers have very bourgeois ideas about what good blood should taste like. Apologies. You must have so many questions. While we're on the topic, perhaps we should start with those related to sustenance. I feel this hunger constantly. How much do I have to drink to make it go away? The sad reality is, it will never go away. No matter how much you drink, you will always be tempted to have more. Unless you consume someone wholly to the last drop, paying for temporary relief with their life. But that is a one-way road to losing your humanity. Best start by just taking a single sip from a vessel. Be prudent. Hot, fresh blood will be more satiating than anything served in a fancy glass. But it can make you more voracious. As to how much you should have, it depends. If you're frugal, you can survive many nights without a single drink. But it's risky, as you will tempt the beast that is part of our curse. Tomorrow, I shall take you hunting and we will explore this topic further. The blood you're having tonight should be enough to keep you happy for now. I don't know if you always have to go with Sophie, but I feel like it's how it goes. The only way I think you could possibly change that up is if you run away. But I feel like you die if you run away. Um, Yeah, yeah. I might try that out and see if there is another route at some point. Um, you'll be taking me hunting, you say? I'm expected to follow you around wherever you go? Yeah? Her demeanor sours. If I request it, then yes, unequivocally. Without my good graces, you will meet a swift and definite end. I have offered you a chance, but it's only worth as much as you decide to utilize it. A nasty smile makes her bare her fangs. Of course, you can save me. You can feel free to save me the trouble and just meet the sunrise. Just do it in a secluded place so you don't endanger the masquerade. Her anger gone in a split second. A warm smile returns to her face. It makes you feel foolish for having wronged her in any way. You realize that it's an obvious play on your emotions. You've seen Kadir toy with you in similar ways. It doesn't change the fact that the trick is still disturbingly effective. The concierge returns, asks for permission to intrude, which Sophie gives with a polite smile, and leans in to whisper in her ear. You note that the gallery is now almost empty. I'm being told that the gallery is about to close, but we still have quite a lot to discuss. We'll go to one of my apartments. My jalopy is waiting downstairs. Come. The smile she puts on makes you remember the way you feel with Latina. The way you felt with the Latina. It's not arousing, though. More like magnetic. You find it hard to argue. Even though you're still suspicious of her authority over you, her charm momentarily wins you over. Sophie leads you to the luxurious silver Rolls Royce and invites you to sit in the back. The chauffeur, a broad-shouldered, clean-shaven middle-aged guy, starts driving immediately. Where did we leave off? I believe I started telling you a bit more about our customs. You've heard the prince refer to our traditions. The chief among them is the Masquerade. As you might have gathered from us assembling at a niche gallery after closing time, our comings, goings, and doings tend to be somewhat secretive. We do not advertise our existence. We allow myths and modern fiction to morph and muddle the facts, so to the vast majority of kind, we remain bedtime stories and pop culture icons. Say, is that one television show about a vampire angel still popular? You shake your head in confusion. She shrugs and continues talking, looking a little bit more dejected than before. Our clandestine ways helped us remain safe, allowed us to explain the occasional trip-up of the rational minds of the 21st century humanity, and dictate much of our interactions with mortals. So, what are the perks here? You're a vampire, but you need to keep quiet about it? What's the point? There has to be a flip side, right? Don't get me wrong. We have power. Immense power. Influence over mortals. Immortality has its benefits too, of course. But we have many enemies, and some know our weakness as well. For one, sunlight burns us. That's why we rest during the day. You felt it. More like being dead than being dormant. Isn't it? But we have no choice. We are night dwellers, but day sleepers. Some more folk-related thoughts are just legends, or occasionally a minor nuisance. Garlic, running water, even religious symbols don't repel us, unless the wielder is uniquely pure and godly. Stakes to the heart, though. That's something to avoid. They do not destroy, but they do paralyze, which, under the right circumstance, can often mean the same thing. There's a reason to have somebody like my trusted driver, Gregory, making sure you're safe when you drift away. We have many enemies. They often know their advantage lies with daylight. So it's good to keep human friends? Am I right thinking that having a human friend or two is necessary then, or at least useful? In moderation. And best if they don't know your true nature. Also, I would say that subordinates are useful, but friends? I haven't had one of those in many years. Our little sect supplies social interactions aplenty, but it doesn't really encourage friendships, alliances of convenience, to be broken at a whim. Yeah, that's more like it. Long-term solidarity does not occur in the Camarilla, but we are a very politicized organization by necessity. Loyalty is to your sire, to your prince, and to the sect. Friends must remain a distant priority, at best for us to maintain the Masquerade and thrive as the years pass. With age comes authority. With it comes influence and power, if you wish to reach for them. She seems to be lost in thought and falls silent for a while, leaving you to ponder all the things you've learned tonight. It still feels absolutely unreal, but as piece after piece of knowledge falls into place, the image becomes almost like an entirely logical jigsaw puzzle. Whatever you wouldn't believe on your own, you've witnessed. Many questions swarm your thoughts, but the one you keep returning to is what your places in this new reality should be. The car stops. You are in the city, in front of an old but well-renovated apartment building. We're here. Would you like to see your lodgings? I get my own apartment. That's neat. Consider it the first of many gifts that I'm able to grant in exchange for loyalty. Come upstairs. She leads you through a small hall with the night guard who greets Miss Langley with a good evening and thanks you to the stairs up to the second floor. Sophie opens the door to room 209. Inside are all the amenities you could expect from a modern apartment, and some you wouldn't have deemed necessary just the previous night, including thick blinds on the windows. The back room has a comfortable-looking bed and a thick steel door with several sturdy-looking locks, but no windows. Well, how do you like it? It's nice. In this very agreeable way, lacks character. Well, I would appreciate if you could hold back the need to redecorate. I'm actually really fond of the decor here. Tomorrow, I will take you hunting and discuss the blood in more detail. I'll let you get more comfortable. The keys are by the television set. I will come pick you up tomorrow night. Use the back room for rest. You can lock the doors, just in case. It stings a bit when she leaves. It's like the room suddenly became a few shades dimmer. You inspect the kitchen, hoping to find something to drink. Nothing. No regular food either. You feel strange that Kadir could be more a thoughtful host than your new sire, even if only in that respect. You briefly wonder if the sheriff might have a hidden side. With nothing left to do, you lie on the couch with the TV playing in the background for company. Columbo reruns. Kojak reruns. President of the United States got himself into serious trouble again. President of the United States got himself out of trouble again. Pundits start yelling over each other about things that seemed a little bit less insignificant less than 2 days ago. You start drifting off, reflecting about another night, confusing conversations about world-shattering revelations. How many more before you finally understand what happened to you and what you're supposed to do now? You keep coming back to the life you left behind, the people you should contact, the things you want to pick up from your apartment. You wonder what you'll have the chance for either. As you start to feel the same tiredness that made you drift off into a cold sleep last night, you settle in the back room. The bed is comforting, the lack of windows less so. You leave the light bulb on. Looking at it, you realize it's the closest thing you'll ever come to staring at the sun on a breezy summer day again. A wave of melancholy overwhelms you. A few minutes later, your consciousness fades and you take the plunge into darkness again. Sinking, 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 sinking. Hunger is at the heart of a vampire's existence. To ignore it is to tempt the beast to take over in its desire to feed. To overindulge in feeding may threaten the masquerade while staining what humanity you have left. And we are skipping tutorial, actually. Cool. Skip tutorial. You open your eyes. The bed isn't warm. The room is filled with artificial light from the ceiling that's solid metal. The solid metal is closed. Normally, you'd stretch for a bit. On some mornings, you'd probably throw a quilt over yourself and snooze a moment longer. But that was before. The way you woke up now, you're fully conscious. No grogginess. Nothing weighing you down. Just the nagging need in the back of your head. Hunger. Not as severe as the last time, but unmistakably there. You get up and open the door to the main room. A digital clock on the TV shows you the time. 9:04 p.m. You walk over to the blinds and retract them cautiously. The only light coming in is the New York City's artificial nighttime luminescence. So that's what your waking hours are going to look like now. You missed the sunlight already. You're seriously considering just walking out of the apartment and figuring this all out by yourself. But then, you come back to the memory of Kadir's exotic sword being raised in the gallery. Maybe sticking around isn't that bad of an idea after all. You keep jumping channels for around half an hour and then switch to streaming services. Almost as if the universe had a sense of irony, you catch True Blood in the flood of recommendations. The doorbell rings. It's Sophie. Good evening, Merrick. Slept well? Like a dead man. Curious wording, but not that far from the truth, I suppose. No use dwelling on it. I think you will agree, with time. You made the right choice yesterday. I can teach you many things about yourself, your blood, its desires and its powers. We will begin tonight. You are hungry, yes? I'm sure you are. Our kind always is. There's only one remedy. Blood. The drinks we had yesterday at Elysium are not the usual way you slake your thirst. So tonight, I will assist you in your first foray into hunting. You need to learn to sense the kind of blood you desire, to understand how you can use the kinds of vulnerabilities to your advantage. Well, I'm ready to learn. Let's get started. Such eagerness. Or is it just your hunger making you impatient? You will find that drinking moderate amounts of it regularly will keep the hunger and the whispers of the beast away. You might think yourself monstrous, but there is a balance to be found here. The kiss gives the kind pleasure. You might remember this from your own embrace. Some can even become addicted to the sensation, but if you do it right, they tend to misremember your feeding. After all, vampires do not exist. They are myths, fairy tales, and pop culture mainstays, correct? She gives you a sly, knowing smile. That is why the masquerade is so important, and even more crucial when you feed. How do you avoid being seen when feeding? You isolate your prey, or you choose the right circumstances. People tend to avert their gaze when they see a couple intertwined in public. Love bites are easy to explain away. Some of us keep willing herds, or even just individual kind who desire the kiss. That comes at a higher risk these nights, though, so I would not recommend it to young kindred like yourself. Feeding from the same area repeatedly can be dangerous, but by branching out you risk the ire of other kindred whose domains you trespass. Lucky for you, New York City is more forgiving in this regard. New York is in somewhat a unique position. Many of its neighborhoods remain contested or unclaimed. The reason for this is a lesson from another time, but keep the following in mind. Take opportunities to feed when they present themselves these upcoming nights. As long as you hunt cautiously and respect the masquerade at all times, you should be fine. To wit, I want you to join me for a trip tonight. Come downstairs. Gregory is waiting for us. The busy streets fill the air with traffic noise, pedestrian chatter, and a mix of smells that disorient you momentarily. These warm bodies contain what you want, what you need. You catch yourself. But did you just really think of these people as mere sources of blood? It takes a nudge from Sophie to break your train of thought. Her driver opens the door for her, and then tips his hat to you, gesturing to the back of the car. The car casually joins the somewhat thinned New York traffic. It's still busy in a way only one of the biggest cities in the world can be, but compared to daytime commute, it's a pleasant drive. You barely have the time to gather your thoughts and formulate new questions before the car comes to a stop. You're among the tall skyscrapers that make up Manhattan's iconic skyline. Come, Merrick. Park the car, Gregory, will you? The driver just nods, and Sophie gets out. You join her, and the two of you walk together through the glass doors, then take the elevator up. You first notice an empty stage with the instruments of a string quartet still in the back, then take in the few dozen chairs in front of it. The concert seeming concluded, the patrons, all smartly dressed and posh, have spread out all over the hall. Sophie strides confidently inside, produces an invitation from her purse that she flashes in front of a security guard. You follow close and are let through without issue. Let's start easy. A social setting like this would usually just challenging to an inexperienced kindred, but consider this evening a small gift from your patron. I'm hoping to procure you a willing vessel. Just remember what I told you about taking small sips. This one, I have a soft spot for. Don't damage her. Now let's see. Ah, there he is. She notices somebody in the crowd, flashes a heart-melting smile, and suddenly even you feel drawn to her. You haven't thought about it before, but it's laid clear before you in this moment. Sophie is beautiful. Just looking at her is a privilege. Just being with her makes you feel elated. Everybody in the crowd, especially the man who's almost tripping over himself to reach her, clearly agrees. Edgar, I'm so happy to see you. How is your daughter? Is she with you? Oh, there she is. Julie, my girl. Come over, please. There's somebody I'd like you to meet. The young woman walks across the hall. Who walks across the hall can't be more than 19 years old. It's clear from her mismatched earrings and the partially faded purple hair dye that she doesn't fit in this crowd. Julie, this is Merrick. I think the two of you should get acquainted while I talk business with your dad. Awfully boring stuff, I assure you. I'm positive you'll like each other. The girl gives you a shy smile and nods towards the balcony stairs. You follow, somewhat unsure what it is exactly Sophie expects you to do. You reach a secluded space from where the entire lobby is visible. All eyes are on Sophie. They listen intently, then laugh when she does. Julie saves you the trouble of figuring out what the next step is. If you're with Sophie, then I guess you're, you know. She puts her wrists to her lips and gives herself a theatrical nip. Then looks at you, embarrassed, but also hopeful. Yeah, I do. She takes off her jacket, unbuttons her sleeve, and rolls it up. You see a tattoo of a cat in an astronaut suit, one feline eye winking at you. There. Just, enjoy. Perfectly awkward smile and a blush. You take her forearm in your hands. A quick look around confirms nobody's watching. No security cameras cover this area. You bite down gently. It's surreal. She's just given you her blood on her own volition. How is this possible? What about the masquerade? You need to ask Sophie. Your thoughts disappear amid the bliss. There's just the taste. Sweet, fresh, sanguine. You drink. And drink. And drink. No, stop. Stop. You tear away from the girl harder than you wanted. Still, the bite leaves just tiny punctures. Almost as if by instinct, you lick them clean. The two holes become concealed. Just like that. Julie is now leaning on the wall, pale, wobbly, on her feet, but happy? She lets out a dreamy sigh, opens her eyes. A few tears fall onto her shirt. Tears of joy. Hey. Thank you. Please, can you lock me downstairs? Please, my dad, he doesn't know. Thinks this is a condition. Something told him so. She leans on you and requests you to walk her over to a bench. She takes a seat and smiles at you. The crowd around Sophie disperses slowly. Looking at her now, only some residual awe hangs in the air. Yes, she's pretty, maybe even beautiful, sure, but not your type. What came over you before? You walk over to her. Edgar, dear, it was splendid talking to you. But we need to get going. Give Julie my best wishes. Come with Merrick. Gregory is waiting for you out front. It's only in the car that Sophie addresses you. I can tell from your look that you took the opportunity. Good for you. That girl's exquisite, don't you think? You wouldn't tell by her demeanor, but she has so much passion. It brings out a unique bouquet in her blood. She was something else, to be sure. Delicious. I could barely stop myself from drinking. I'm glad you did. She is one of my favorites. Consider tonight special in this regard. I do not share her with just anybody. Time for the next stop. Training wheels off this time. Gregory, Flushing Meadows, please. The driver takes the car over the Williamsburg Bridge. You settle your thoughts. What do you mean by training wheels? Julie was a proving ground for you to try your hand at controlled feeding. Now it's time for a real hunt, and that will require you to put in extra effort. We all have our talents. Some of them can come from the legacy we inherit from our sire. Others can be learned with experience. I can sway people or make them fear me. I can see more of the world, and in greater detail than some kindred. I can will my body to move with unparalleled precision and grace, and more. All of these skills make me who I am. They also help me hunt. Okay, so what are my talents? Time will tell. You need to discover them yourself. When we arrive, experiment. Give different things a try. Follow your instinct, your intuition. It will guide the blood. Always keep the masquerade in mind, however. It is all fine if you can disappear in plain sight or command animals with your mind, to save those overt talents for the right place and time. It only takes you a half an hour to reach the park at this time of night. Both you and Sophie leave the car, with Gregory left behind again to find a parking spot and keep an eye on the car. Sophie seems deep in thought. She takes in the surroundings with a dreamy gaze. The sky is surprisingly clear tonight. The stars just barely visible in the light-polluted aura of the city. I feel like having a snack myself. I'll be by the fountain. Go look for somebody to your liking. See what effects you can achieve with your blood, but only pick one victim. Just one. Then, come back. Seeing how she seems not altogether here right now, you decide to leave Sophie to her own devices and seek out your own prey. From here, it looks like you have a few choices. Just taking a stroll around the park and finding an isolated jogger, or someone like that could work. But focusing on one area might work better. The New York State Pavilion might work as a secluded spot. There's a skate park nearby. In worst case scenario, there's bound to be some unfortunate wino around. Or maybe the tennis courts nearby. There's light coming from there, so somebody might still be playing a late night match. They won't be alone, but they might be tired and let their guard down. As these scenarios play out in your mind, you realize you're planning how to assault a stranger in the middle of the night. It's a weird way to be, but the now familiar hunger prompts you to act. You decide the tennis courts are as good place as any. Make your way to the bright glow of the lamp illuminating the area. As you guessed, a pair of players, two men, fit but older, maybe pushing 60, are finishing up a match. They are the only ones there. It's time to make a move. You think back to what Sophie did in the hall, how she managed to focus the attention of the entire gathering on her. That might be a tall order for you, but a single person could be doable. You wait patiently until the two men hit the showers, get out, and say their goodbyes. They go their separate ways, and one of them notices you standing there. You immediately grab his attention. Good evening. Oh yeah, I'm having a blast, you. Won both sets. Not bad for Grandpa. He's clearly very happy with himself. You decide there won't be a better moment to strike, moving closer, casually at first, then closing the distance in a single leap. You sink your fangs into his flesh. His blood flows fast and feels energizing. You never expected an invigorating taste like this from a guy who's at least your father's age. You only take as much as you need right now, though a voice at the back of your mind urges you to keep drinking. Fit or not, you don't want this guy on your consciousness if it takes too much. You put him on the ground, gently, and make your way back to Sophie. As you're leaving the courts, a figure emerges from the shadows and stops you in your tracks. A hooded man is looking menacing at you. What do you think you're doing, barging in on my turf like this, Lick? Piss off. I'm not in the mood for a mugging, and you do not want to cross me right now. Mugging? This ain't a mugging. This is one Lick telling another to get the fuck out of their turf. But first, you're gonna tell me who you're with. Save me the whole Masquerade song and dance. I know what you are. Now talk before my posse shows up and we beat it out of you. You talk big, but I'm thinking you're just a chump. Want to prove me wrong. He tenses up, giving you an extremely nasty look, and bares his fangs. You don't want to push your luck, dumb fuck. My crew is in earshot. One shout away, and you're D-O-N-E, done. You get what I'm saying? So if you want to dance, let's dance. Once I'm through, I'ma hand you over to Callahan, and you're gonna be sorry I didn't finish you off instead. Feel like I want to attack him instead of using. You decide the time for talking is over. You rush him and throw him off balance, landing on the ground. He's fast, but weak. The brawl takes a bit out of both of you. Suddenly, you hear heavy footsteps closing in, and the thug is snatched from over you. He hits a tree hard, and before he can recover, a sharp piece of wood pierces his chest. It's Gregory, Sophie's driver, who deals the blow. The hoodlum is rendered inert. His eyes remain open, but he does not move and does not protest when Gregory puts him over his shoulder. Miss Langley is waiting for us. Come, before your snack wakes up. He points to your victim, who is just coming to, and gives you a somewhat snarky smile, and breaks into a swift walk towards the Unisphere. How did you get here this fast? I was watching you from afar. Miss Langley asked me to look out for you. She suspected you'd get into trouble. He seems to realize he might have said too much and just keeps walking, somewhat embarrassed. You reach the Unisphere together, with the hoodlum in tow. Two figures are visible near the sculpture, a man and a woman, tangled in a passionate embrace. No, not exactly. It's Sophie, beating. But this whole scene is set up to look like it's like a pair of getting intimate in public. She pulls it off like she's done it 100 times before. It occurs to you that she probably has. The man is unsure on his feet as she lets go of him and leads him towards a nearby bench. Noticing you, she whispers something into his ear and leaves him. She nods to Gregory as you approach. And what do we have here? Did this kindred give you trouble, Merrick? He said something about presenting me somebody named Callahan. Ever heard of him? She looks shocked for a split second, then recovers her regular countenance. Yes, I have. The hoodlum is Anarch, then. Curious. Verona Park has not been claimed by any kindred last I checked. Let's go to the car. We'll put him in the trunk and present him to Kadir tomorrow night. I'm sure he'll be delighted to make this unbound's acquaintance. Gregory carries the staked vampire and dumps him in the car's trunk like a mannequin. It's a strange sight, and you're quite happy you're not in the poor fucker's shoes right now. It's almost surprising that you get away with just casually throwing a stiff in your car and driving away. But then you remember that Sophie has been doing this far longer than you have. Still, the nagging thought that anything you did tonight could have been recorded on a CCTV camera or picked up by a rando with a half-decent smartphone and streamed online fills you with dread. Hunting and using your abilities is dangerous business. It's clear that this whole being a vampire thing has about as many caveats as it has perks. You're taken out of your headspace by Sophie's voice. I will pick you up tomorrow night, same as tonight. I have some business to attend to at Elysium, and expect you to accompany me. Plus, our friend in the back needs to be properly introduced to Kadir and the Prince. I'm sure he'll have some interesting things to say to the court. Her voice is cold, cruel, and nothing like the enchanting personality she showed at the gallery early tonight. Sophie is clearly a woman of many faces. Frankly, I'd do the same thing if I was in his position. Run a stranger out of my part of the city. Trying to get info out of them? Why are we punishing him? She scoffs. Oh, child. Such naivety coming from a victim of harassment by a hoodlum who's little more than an uncultured savage. Aren't you precious? He will reap what he sowed. That's what you get for daring to raise a hand against the ivory tower. He is not one of us. Therefore, he is our enemy and will be treated accordingly. She changes the subject. You haven't told me how your hunting went. Getting the hang of it, I would hope. I think I am, yeah. I'll cope. I'm glad. She doesn't question you further. She seems distracted, not all there. Her thoughts drift and the car remains silent until you reach your apartment. We will pick you up tomorrow evening. Good night. Just like that, without any further courtesy, Sophie leaves, driving to her apartment by Gregory, with a body in the trunk right in the middle of Manhattan. Did you cross paths with situations like this in the past unknowingly? What other secrets did you pass on the streets without knowing their true nature? Your haven is just as you left it hours ago. Although the sun won't come up for some time, you feel tired. You learned something about yourself today, and it'll take some time to process. You're not in the mood for television, and the few books on the shelf in the apartment are either in languages you don't speak or sound like a boring read. Nothing left to do but rest. You settle in the back room, lock the door. A moment of hesitation, but then a decision. This time, you turn the light off. You think back to Julie. How many people in the city know about the vampiric society? How many are willing accomplices in sustaining it? And the thug you met in the park. If he's not Camarilla, then what is he? Are there independent vampires? How does that work? More questions. You begin wondering if there's ever going to be a night where you can start crossing them off the list. Instead of adding to it, you close your eyes. You sink into the now familiar void of nothingness. It greets you with open arms, like an old friend. You open your eyes. It's pitch dark here, the blackness of a coffin, drifting in the abyss. Oh. Right. The light. You grasp for the switch, flip it. The familiar cramped room with a steel door and no windows comes into view. You emerge from the bed fully awake, just like yesterday. This time, however, Sophie is waiting for you, comfortably seated on the sofa in your living room, a book in her hand. The Melancholy of Resistance. The title's sure on brand. Good evening, Merrick. Sorry to have kept you waiting. To be fair, I haven't been here long. I was enjoying reminiscing about the time when I called this my haven. The decor was much different, of course. Come, we have an appointment. I received word Elysium would be called again tonight on account of your unruly friend from Corona Park. This should be a great opportunity for you to mingle. She keeps talking as you walk downstairs and get into the car. Gregory gives you a slight nod and a small smile while opening the door for Sophie. He starts the car when you take a seat in the back. Most of the Primogen Council is bound to be there, at least those who usually attend. Probably some other important personalities you'd do well to at least learn about. You never told me there were any savoir vivre kind... Oh boy, that's French. Kind of rules I should respect when talking to other vampires. Knowing that you're among your superiors is probably the most important. In our society, status comes with age, pardon my sincerity, but you are... Oh. You are insignificant. Not even associating with me can make the fact that you've been kindred for barely a few nights be forgotten. So, know your place. Stay out of your superior's business and show the utmost respect. Thanking the prince for sparing you, and maybe have a friendly chat with Kadir publicly might show your gratefulness for being part of the Camarilla now. I would suggest you make it sincere. At any rate, you should behave yourself tonight. Remember what I told you about reflecting on me as your patron. I have a reputation to uphold in the court. Do not tarnish it. There it is. She might have saved you. She might be protecting and teaching you, but it's clear what she's really concerned about. Her own interests. You step into the art hall with something of a bad memory. Last time you were here, your entire world had been turned upside down, and your existence nearly ended. But tonight, there's very little outward hostility. Yes, Kadir gives you a look that's definitely intended to remind you of your place. But the prince, also in attendance, seems pleased to see you. Welcome, Sophie. Merrick. Did I get that right? Good evening to both of you. I understand there is somebody else you wish to present to the court tonight? Yes, Prince. They will be joining us shortly. My assistance is retrieving them presently. This better be worth the prince's time, Langley. The prince gives Kadir a gold glance. Forgive Sheriff's harshness. He's in a particularly foul mood tonight. Something to do with Merrick's begetter eluding his grasp, I believe. Ouch. That must hurt his ego, even if his only reply is a crooked smile. The mention of your sire makes you come back to all the talk of eschewing societal norms and disillusionment with the status quo you enjoyed back in the club. Look at you now. Behaved. Agreeable. She likely wouldn't be too happy with this whole setup. Rents, court, hierarchy, titles. But hey, she's gone. Probably forever. If you ever break out of this, it'll be on your own. The flaring up of whispers in the gallery hall breaks you out of your thoughts. Gregory entered the room, the jumpsuit-clad, inert vampire still staked on his shoulder. The show's about to start. Sophie's driver places his charge in the middle of the room and nods respectfully to Kadir. The sheriff approaches the vampire and removes the stake from his chest. The captive's eyes flicker to life, and he starts looking around in disbelief, like a cornered animal. He backs out on all fours. Keeps going in circles until he realizes he's trapped. Kadir steps on the man's chest and pins him to the floor. Why? Who do we have here? Oh, fuck. Oh, shit, no. Come on, don't. Silence. The sheriff takes on an aura of utter dread. He appears as if he's a primal force of nature that's out to get you. There's absolutely nothing you can do but shrivel in terror. The beast inside you shrieks. You could swear it happens in unison with the instincts of some of the other guests here tonight. It's unlike anything you've experienced in his company during your turbulent nights as a vampire. He really did go easy on you, all things considered. It seems like it takes all the hoodlum's willpower to not crawl into a fetal position and start crying. No, please don't hurt me, man, don't. You and me are going to have a little talk downstairs, at the prince's discretion. Please, go ahead, my sheriff. You heard the prince. Get up. Let's go. He doesn't wait for a confirmation. He just grabs the man and drags him, kicking and screaming, out of the room. Conversations start all around you. Some whispered, some quite overt. Sophie looks somewhat bored of the whole affair, her eyes wandering from art piece to art piece, clearly finding nothing to her particular liking. So, what happens now? It'll at least be some minutes before Kadir gets the information he seeks out of this thug. Why not mingle while we wait for him to break? Excuse me. Sophie leaves your side and goes to a corner of the gallery where a room of kindreds, some seemingly pretty old-fashioned, gathered. The concierge offers you a drink. It's still warm. It smells nice. Just a sip to start you off. A splash over your palate, coating your tongue and the inside of your cheeks. Nourishment. You're left to your own devices. You have a quick look around. The prince is currently talking to a dark-skinned woman that you recall seeing here those few nights ago. She has a cold but noble countenance to her. Their conversation seems to be casual. A loud, shrill laugh turns your attention to the bespectacled man who you saw with Sophie on the night of your judgment. He makes the rounds, chatting up different patrons. You feel somebody's eyes on you. A casually dressed, plain-looking man stands alone near a column, watching you. He turns his gaze away sheepishly when he realizes you've noticed. Well, we're going to confront the twit. The man notices your attention, but it takes a few minutes before he pauses his mingling for long enough to actually approach him. He looks at you quizzically. Thomas Arturo. Pardon? It's my name. I assumed you'd like to know. I know you. My name only, of course. Merrick, embraced just a few nights ago, huh? Well, well, well. How's Undeath treating you? You know, I think I'm beginning to like it. Oh, already? Fast learner, are you? Good. Good attitude to have. It'll take you places. He takes a moment to clean his glasses, completely ignoring you until he's done and puts them back on. I'm sorry, I get a bit distracted. You know, most of us don't need to wear these, right? I can see just fine without them. But it's a statement. The damn things just keep catching specks of dust and other assorted shit, though. Never stay clean for long. Sometimes I think they're more trouble than they're worth, wouldn't you say? You, like it when things are clean? Is that a thing for you? I don't think you understood what I meant. They're glasses. What use are they if they're dirty? Alright. That was a nice chat. But I have to catch up with a few other fellows tonight. Talk to you later. Jeannie! Hey! Jeannie! He doesn't even give you a chance to say goodbye. He's already off, grabbing 2 glasses off a concierge's tray and handing one to a mustachioed man nearby. You notice Sophie mingling with other kindred, clearly in her element, not to be disturbed. Kadir hasn't come back yet, so you can probably still find time for at least one more conversation. There's something about this guy. It's not that he's staring at you. Most everybody in this room has, at one point or another. It's how he does it. He seems shy, maybe even afraid. It's hard to find a secluded spot in the gallery tonight, but this guy is an entire corner of the room all to himself. As you approach, he's standing alone with no glass in hand, a worried look on his face. Good evening, mister? Larson. Or you can call me Robert. Either's fine. So, who are you? You mean, like, generally? Vampire, same as you, though I might not quite look like it. I'm one of Prince Panhard's Primogen. I'm here on business, in case the prince requires my insight. Usually it's so she can hear me out before ignoring me. Not sure if you were paying attention the other night, but when the prince mentioned diverging opinions on whether you should be executed or not, that was me. I was the diverging opinion. And you were ignored. Yeah, it's usually how it goes. Listen, I don't want to be rude, and I appreciate reaching out, but word of advice, stay away from me. Many vampires in this sect regard my position as primogen to be some kind of a joke, you know. You talk to me, they'll notice, and they'll hold it against you. You have a quick look behind you and see that a few of the kindred keep shooting you curious glances. One woman in particular, a redhead boasting a fanciful hairstyle, watches you disapprovingly. Some of them already do, I imagine. Excuse me, I need to try to get a word in with a few primogen members before Kadir returns. Enjoy your night. With just the critical looks of a few kindred to keep you your company, you start thinking about who to pursue next. A loud exchange near the staircase grabs everyone's attention. Kadir is back, and the hoodlum is with him. The sheriff pushes an unfortunate victim inside the room. The vampire that threatened you last night is a mess. That stupid hat is still inexplicably on his head, covering some of his ruined face in welcome shadow. He's barely conscious. The shin is broken, you think, something protruding there, making the pant leg bulge. One arm seems twisted in a strange angle. Very little blood, surprisingly, but clearly a whole lot of hurt. Well, Kadir, did our guest cooperate? Tell the prince your name. It's Howard. And who do you run with, Howard? The Midnighters. An anarchist coterie, my prince. Active for some time now, though, from what this one has told me, the name is about the only legacy the group has kept over the years. I see. Hey, Prince. I didn't mean it. I didn't know. I didn't. A loud crack makes some of the guests audibly gasp as Kadir's slap dislocates the man's jaw. A spray of blood creates something like an abstract art piece on the floor. This one is guilty of threatening a member of the Camarilla and claiming a domain without the prince's approval. That alone would be enough to pass swift judgment. But he is also anarch scum. My prince, there can be only one verdict. Final death. Do your duty, Sheriff. Unless, of course, somebody would like to play at being Good Samaritan like our dear Miss Langley a few nights ago. The look of the prince serves you and Sophie is a cruel jest. Sophie takes it gracefully, smiling and slipping her arm under yours in a strange public show of affection. Nobody says anything. The vampire named Howard jumps to his feet and makes for the window. You have a feeling Howard's efforts are fruitless. Just a few seconds later, that feeling is confirmed. He almost reaches the window. Almost. But not quite. In what seems like a blink of an eye, Kadir appears first near his scabbarded sword in one corner of the gallery, and then next to the escaping anarch on the opposite side of the room. The next moment, Howard's head flies off his body. Baseball cap free. His lifeless body crumples to the ground and begins to decompose in real time. It's an uncanny sight. As always, our sheriff does not fail to impress. I would like to thank Miss Langley for bringing this anarch thug to my and Kadir's attention. I assume all have found the verdict satisfactory? It's a rhetorical question, and everybody here knows it. Then I consider tonight's meeting concluded. Good night to all of you. She steps out of the room, and you see that many of the guests move to do the same. Sophie seems to be conversing with somebody, a serious-looking man in a trench coat, about what transpired. You probably have the time to strike up a conversation of your own, too. Kadir Al-Azmi is still here, for one, but clearly getting ready to leave. Both Larson and Arturo seem to have stayed around. One is still moping around, the other chatting with the remaining attendants as if nothing happened in the meantime. We're gonna talk to Arturo again. Thomas has just finished talking to a few of the guests, who turn around the stairs to leave the gallery. He notices you approach. Hello again. So tell me, how does it to go from victim to executioner's accomplice? Well, what can I say? I'm just glad I wasn't on the receiving end of Kadir's sword tonight. That was nasty. He's an artist with a sword of his, I agree. Say, I can tell you've been dying to ask me something. Seeking me out and all. Here's your chance. Ask away. Just make it quick, please. I have a meeting I need to attend. What's your role in the court? Do you hold any official seat? Official? No. I don't have some influence. I do have some influence, though. They call kindred like me names, most of them quite vulgar, so let's stick with the most common. Harpy. Oh. The domain herald, or harpy, knows everyone and all their secrets and will share them with others for the right price. Harpy is an originally negative epithet, but some wear it with pride, knowing the role of information broker is valued in any court. Times were, our dear prince was one too. We knew all the ins and outs of who's who and what's what. That was our resident gunslinger, Maz, too. But he's old news. In short, you want to stay on my good side, which you're doing an admirable job so far, being such a good listener and all. He gives you a small theatrical bow. Merrick, so nice to talk to you again. I'm off. Catch you another time. He waves one of his remaining acquaintances goodbye and leaves the gallery. It's right about when Sophie also ends her conversation and walks over to you. Interesting evening, wasn't it? Come, Gregory's waiting downstairs. She seems preoccupied with something, and not in a talkative mood. It's an awkward ride back to the city. This time, you arrive at another building just 2 streets across from your apartment. She brings you upstairs through a very nice lobby and a luxurious-looking hall into her domain. Please have a seat. I shall be right with you. You take in your surroundings. The apartment is like a gallery, an old-school smoking room that you just seen in some period piece once. A nouveau riche, with these French words, living room meticulously combined together. Apologies. Old habits die hard. Clearly some stick with you even after your death. She drags on her cigarette and breathes out. Breathes. How is she doing that? Can you do that? Oh yes. You might not know. It takes some practice, but you can keep smoking if you'd like. Other things too. Experiment. You might surprise yourself. But I did not bring you here to show off. This is where I rest these nights. That door back in the room? The bedroom. Similar to yours. I have servants and bodyguards in addition, of course. I brought you here because I need you to trust me. But when I told you before that I needed your best behavior to uphold my good standing at the court, I meant it. But that's not the whole story. I have your interests in mind too. That's why I've given you your own haven. I'm trying to teach you how to navigate this new reality. But you need to trust me, or else this won't work. You can come here whenever you feel like asking me something. Whenever you're in trouble too. Though I hope that won't happen too often. I would ask to come here when you wake up tomorrow. I'll have something to discuss with you. Why not talk right now since we're both here? I still need to follow up on a few things before we speak. Patience, fledgling. That silence again. There's definitely something on Sophie's mind tonight. She doesn't seem eager to share it with you just yet. I'm leaving for another visit. Come downstairs with me. We'll give you a lift. A quick trip. I promise that you'll show up tomorrow. And some polite goodbyes later. You open the door to your haven and gather your thoughts. It's exciting in a way, being dragged deeper and deeper into the secret society and its rules. Whatever Sophie has planned for you is bound to teach you more about this thing you've become. You sink into your vampiric sleep with just a sliver of hope. It's a welcome change. I think we're going to take right now to take a little bit of a break. I'm getting very hungry, very similar to our protagonist. So I'm gonna back after a little bit of food. So thanks for tuning in.